My wrists are still fucked, but you guys voted. Some of y'all might not remember the old AF game at Exmortis. I should not have played this when I was younger. Anthony remembers we were talking about we were talking about Hello, I'm Not a Human, and I was like, it reminds me of Ex Mortis, and Anthony's mind was fucking blown. So,
like, oh, I remember. It scared the shit out of me.
I played this game before. Ex Mortis, for those who do not know, was an old Flash horror game. One of the old goats of Flash horror. Like, if you played Flash games, whether it be on Newgrounds or Cool Games or whatever shit, if you played a lot of those and definitely dipped your toes in the horror genre, at some point, at some time, you either played or you had brushed the leg of Ex Mortis. Ex Mortis was pretty extreme for the time. It had jump scares, so it was, the earliest of cheaper horror, but there was definitely a story of some sort of cult, satanic sort of things. Before, like, we've always had games like this, but Ex Mortis did things a little bit differently, and it accomplished it with Flash, of all things. Like, this was one of those things where you could play a terrifying game for free, made with a program that people usually use for, like, dating sims or silly cartoons. Someone made a game of it, and then they made another one, and then they made another one. So, we might only have time for the first 2 games of Ex Mortis. We might do the third one, maybe another time on another chill vibe stream. I'm not sure. We have enough time to essentially cover both. We'll see how things go, because there's also a lot of documents and reading, and I have a feeling that this playthrough doesn't stay on that stuff. And to really get the story was reading the journals that you found along the way. It was up there with Road of the Dead. It was pretty it was pretty up there.
God.
That's pretty cool.
Actually, before we go into it, when did Ex Mortis first come out? I know it's on Newgrounds, but when...
You're not sharing the screen, but I know. When did it come out?
2004.
That's 2004. That's 21 years.
Yeah, 21 years ago.
It's older than Roblox. Goddamn.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm disintegrating as we speak.
Yep.
I am aging.
A Flash game that was on Newgrounds until the Flash series servers were shut down. It was quite a game. And again, even though Flash was gone, you can still play this game. It is on Newgrounds. The creator was Left for Web Design. It was his first Flash game ever. He's got other ones like Purgatorium. I don't know if that one was any good, but it seems to have pretty high star ratings, so it probably was. Ex Mortis 2 is considered the best one out of... Yep. Ex Mortis 2 was considered the best one in the series, and Ex Mortis 3 was its conclusion. And I guess Orca Rampage to 2010.
I've never heard of these because I didn't do horror back then.
Yeah,
this is really cool.
I remember being young, being told about Newgrounds, accidentally, like, playing a Naruto dating sim game, and then turning out that it was porn at the end. And young me didn't need to see that. I remember immediately. I remember immediately. Sakura's mouth opened, a penis went in, and I clicked out of the tab. And I was like, no, like, ah.
I should not have had unrestricted access to the internet when I was young. I should not have done that.
Same.
But I am who I am now. See, there's a stark difference. I didn't click away.
Yeah, no,
In fact, I fell down the rabbit hole of that shit way too young.
I immediately was like, I should not be looking at this. I need to click away right now. If someone walks in, I am in trouble. And
that was always the fear.
it was not the biscuit for the risket. I'm gonna say right now. I was in that thing of like I was very prudish. I had my own kind of reserves about sex. I didn't need to know about it yet.
Mhm.
And it scared me in a way. But yeah.
Mhm.
So that being said, let us I don't know what this is. Cosmetology of Kyoto, the scariest educational game ever. Oh, that's interesting. Alrighty. Well,
That sounded for another day. Holy shit, that
yeah.
sounds awesome.
That sounds very interesting. I'm just looking here real quick. Yeah, we won't worry about like going into any crazy stuff. All right.
Mhm.
Heckin, I'll put the volume up a considerable degree. Not something that when we do see the jump scares, it will be too loud. That being said, the first two games do indeed have jump scares.
Yeah, they
But
do.
apparently the third game, which starts at around the 40-50 minutes in, apparently completely just changes direction. So let's heckin'
I reserve the right to leave suddenly.
if you wish
Okay.
to.
Let's do this.
Yeah, if you wish to leave
Okay.
suddenly because you become uncomfortable or anxiety ridden, or you're just not into the blood and gore, it for the time it was pretty fucking gory. I feel like in a way it still kind of stands compared to stuff that's coming out now, but it's unsettling. It's definitely unsettling. It definitely the first time I ran into it, it gave me nightmares. Alrighty, so 3, 2, 1, Exmortis.
More peace.
Keeping an eye on my volume. Yeah, see that shit.
That was goofy as shit, bro.
It gets you though.
God damn it.
See?
Shut up.
Thankfully, no people were harmed in the creating of the graphics of this. Just very good Photoshop,
Yep.
but still very convincing Photoshop. Holy shit.
Okay, that was just goofy.
Me when I heard.
Me when I. You wake up in the woods with a lump on your head. You can't remember how you got there. All you can recall are the dreams. It's late, cold, and you are unsure of where you are exactly. Fighting through the headache, you regain your focus. You see a house in the clearing and decide to shelter there. Anything is better than freezing to death in the woods. Yeah, guys. Anything is better than freezing to death in the woods.
Can't argue that.
Look at that house-ass house.
It is a house
Our
on the
house.
hill.
In the middle of our
house.
hill.
I
Our
can
house.
think of a few things worse.
Yeah. Ah, shit. One sec. Hold on. I wanted to fix something with VTube Studio really quick, but just lower Bernard out of the way there. But I forgot that it does that thing. Okay, enter the house.
Unfortunately, while you were doing it, you got hurt.
Got hit.
I can't believe this is 21 years old, dude. I'm actually decaying. Could that be where the thumping is coming from?
Yeah. The torso hung up by the arms. Oh, yeah, you go.
A torso hung up by the arms has been written.
You retch at the sight.
A symbol.
Second level hallway. Oh no, it was 5 when this came out. Oh, baby.
There's no reason here, so why is this roof lamp swinging? How did so much blood get on the roof? Close the door. The bedspread is soaked in someone's blood. The gramophone is unplugged, but it's still rotating. How is this possible? The painting on the wall is of a familiar landscape. There's a safe behind it. It appears to be
Human
a
heart.
human heart. A strange symbol is smeared in blood on the safe wall. A dark leather-bound book entitled Exmortis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're gonna have to pause. All right, this is gonna be a minute.
Alrighty.
Pause.
Pause.
Okay.
Alrighty.
The Book of Exmortis. What was before the dawn of man and beast, the earth realm was ruled by the ancients, mystical beings transcending life, death, time, and reality as most mere mortals know it. The days before life and light were ruled by darkness and chaos. The ancients roamed the plane of existence and lived on the blood of conquest and rule over lesser entities. There were many of these ruling archaic spirits. However, one by one over many millennia, their greed and arrogance saw them turn against each other. They sought blood, destruction, and dominance over their own kind, and many immortal sentients met their demise as a result. The consolidation.
Consolidation.
I can't fucking read today. That's going to be problematic for me tomorrow. The consolidation of the remaining powers saw the ancients' rule divided amongst the remaining three: Azrael, Kafta, and Velez.
I think it was called Vlayu.
Vlayu? It's hard to see. The fucking the fucking pixel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a W. Azrael, Kafta, and Velu frequently exerted their wrath and cruelty through their ferocity towards each other's dominion. The blood of many was split as the remaining three fought against his brother for the spoils and power that they each possessed. Upon the battlefield, Azrael's forces reduced the armies of Vlayu to dust, culminating in the long-awaited glorious victory. But his compassion towards his defeated brother saw Vlayu get a reprieve from the certain destruction that he faced. Knowing that defeating Kafta's forces would require many more millennia of fighting, Azrael appointed Vlayu as his general, knowing that the power of two agents was enough to win undisputed control. In a final bloody battle in the Crimson Sky, the penultimate confrontation played out. Kafta, not realizing that Vlayu was still corporeal and leading Azrael's armies, made the grave mistake of underestimating the strength of his opponent. The losses took the Kafta forces by surprise, and before they had time to regroup, Vlayu had plunged his sword deep into the heart of...
Flip page.
Pause. His defense... Azrael's forces...
Pause. I'm gonna have that on speed dial now.
Yeah. His sword plunged into his defenses. Azrael's forces streamed into the last stronghold of Kafta, slaying every sentient entity that stood against them. Kafta's armies were eventually defeated, leaving Vlayu triumphant in his victory. His subordinates fought ferociously, and they were to be rewarded with a unified rule over the Earth realm. Azrael, holding no compassion towards Kafta as he had for Vlayu, destroyed the life force of his nemesis and claimed the kingdom as his own. With his totalitarian control, he decided that Vlayu was no longer of use to him. Unfortunate for him, he did not count on his armies siding with the powerful Vlayu. In a furious realization of this challenge in the face of certain ascension, the Earth realm shook with the power of Azrael's anger towards his army's treachery. Vlayu showed no mercy towards his brother, knowing that he could not make the same mistake that Azrael made. Without hesitation, Vlayu had Azrael slain by his own ethereal hand, and he assumed control of the consolidated kingdom of the Earth realm. The tyrannical rule of Vlayu lasted for many millennia, with no one to challenge him. But conspire certain forces did against the sole remaining ancient. They bode their time, recruiting supporters of the overthrowing. Okay, that's a way to describe that.
Yeah.
Vlayu was ambushed and overpowered by his trusted advisors, but knowing that only one of his own kind could destroy him, he had his corporeal presence removed from existence for eternity in the demonic spirit form. The remaining world of archaic lessers were dispersed and were governed under each individual's rule. It was true chaos with no joint agenda. Vlayu, without corporeal form and no longer able to physically alter the world, roamed the Earth realm for the rest of existence. Diminished in power, he still had many followers to which he would spiritually.
Pause.
Let's see.
That's gonna fucking end my life.
Love it.
Let's see. Oh. There we go.
Which combined his life force with, instead existing as a single powerful entity, Vayu becoming subversively indestructible by being many. He called his new legion of existence Exmortis. What is the appearance of soul-bearing creatures of flesh and blood saw in the new rule within the Earth realm? Over many thousands of years, man destroyed countless lesser entities, some very powerful, even some who helped overthrow Vleyu's previous rule. While man was physically weak in comparison to the entities of dark times, their souls gave them many advantages. And it was due to these advantages that the Earth realm entities were reduced to minimal numbers. A world once ruled with strength and might was now in the human hands of the weak. The handful of ancient entities sought to influence and control humanity for mutual gains. Vleyu's Exmortis prospered where other entities failed, purely because of their strength in numbers and the wisdom of the mighty ancient himself. Together as one, the Exmortis was worshipped widely in the world of man, but human nature led to conflict, and the cult of Vleyu was tragically culled and almost forgotten. With every passing human year, Vleyu's influence and power in the Earth realm was diminished, until all that remained was what was recorded in the written form. After the death of the final disciple, Vleyu and the Exmortis slept, until the day humanity was ready for the anointment of his hand. What will be? Prophecy in the word of Vleyu speaks of the coming hand of repose. Anointed with the blood of 5, a selected man will transcend humanity and evolve to become the link between the Earth realm and Vleyu's Exmortis. Awakening the ancient form, his.
Pause.
Hold on, I'm trying to figure it. On the page, bitch. Okay.
Awakening the ancient from his slumber, the hand will be charged with the power to bring about the uprising of the cult of Exmortis once again. Blood, wrath, and strength will once again rule the Earth realm, and Vleyu will walk tall and rule amongst mortals as was meant to be in the time before light and life. The right of charging the hand. Translated from the Aramaic Cult of Exmortis scrolls, the rite of charging the hand reads as follows. Devoured the crimson life of 5, marks of Vleyu given to thee. Mirrored below, the soul survives, what was, what is, and what will be, by Xavier Rayahim at 1890.
Mm-hmm. And then the corporeal form of Vleyu.
Vleyu kind of looking like a fucking Killer Instinct fighter, not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, yeah. Some fucking Diet Geiger.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Reading somebody's really funny fanfiction. Yeah.
I think it was the most real response to that is to just leave it in the safe and not just put it down.
I'm just gonna pretend I didn't find that.
Yeah. Just an ordinary, if what, somewhat dirty bathroom. The bathroom is filled with seems to be human blood, and the window is boarded up, maybe by someone who valued their privacy. We found a key lodged in the pipe of the sink. This is not a normal bathroom, bro.
Just a bathroom. Who are you to judge?
The hallway shrouded in the shadows. The way leads off into darkness. It has to be some kind of hallucination.
Yep.
Just another painting. Ah, another hallucination. A picture of the pentacle.
Yep.
A grandfather clock sits ticking away in the corner. Use the key to open the door. There's something very unnerving about this sculpture. That's the thing in the room that you should look at first.
That's the one, yeah.
The word remember is smeared in blood on this mirror.
Hard to see, but okay.
A severed arm. This house is turning out to be a graveyard. Something written here. A symbol. There's a book here that doesn't quite fit in. Xavier Rayan, circa 1878.
Alrighty.
GR. The tale of my daughter Gwen is a sad and sorrowful fable. I refer to it as a fable for my mortal brain cannot begin to comprehend the horrors that I have witnessed in this house. So I cast what I have witnessed into my memory as delusion and morbid fantasy. My small family moved to this house of solitude last summer to escape the perils of society and to mourn the unfortunate death of my wife Julia. Tuberculosis claimed her life only months before my move to this place. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, and knowing what I know now, it was a move that I would never again make. The days rolled onwards towards inevitability, and my daughter and I continued our simple existence. Being a scholar myself, I enjoyed passing the time reading the literature left here by the previous owner of this detached house. Many of the fine works kept here proved to be very old and of extreme interest to me. Some works proved very challenging indeed, and very hard to translate. The library provided here had an abundance of books flavored with subjects focused on the occult. One particular book caught my interest, simply titled Exmortis. The word is a derivative of ex mortis, which loosely translates to the dead. It was from that moment that I finished translating this book, from an unusual dialect of ancient Aramaic, mind you, and read the final English translation that our troubles here began. My daughter, the only other occupant of this house, grew distant from me over the course of the following week. She developed rageful tendencies towards my parentage, and she started having seizures, which worried me immensely at the time. But these unusual events didn't limit themselves to my daughter. I began having nightmares so ghastly that I dare not recall them. Suffice to say, I was concerned by the disturbing changes to both my daughter and I. After the first week, the hallucinations began. I recall hearing noises and whispering, as well as sensing movement in my peripheral vision. I constantly had the feeling that someone was in the room with me, but upon searching, it was clear that I was alone. My dear Gwen, however, became less active all of a sudden. She was almost catatonic at stages and not reacting to conversation or physical prompting. She would just shuffle her petite form around the house and stare blankly through me whenever I confronted her. Mm-hmm. It was shortly after a month of this behavior that I began to notice certain physical changes in my daughter. She seemed withered in her appearance, but her face would at times seem bloated and twisted horribly. It wasn't until a fleeting moment in my day that my hope was crushed forever. My darling Gwen broke free from this new personality she had gripped her for months. She screamed and cried for me to help her, to save her from the monsters that now plagued her body. All I could do was hold her in my arms and assure her that I would free her from the prison she was trapped in. And then she was lost forever. The Gwen I loved had resurfaced for only a minute, but to me, it was enough to realize what had to be done. That night, while she slept in her room, I crept in with a dagger in hand and plunged it deep into her heart. She writhed and convulsed in agony, and while all I could do was just watch and sob from the corner. In her dying breath, the real Gwen locked eyes with me and spoke, "Thank you, Daddy." I sit here now, recounting the events that led me to this point in my insanity. My wife and daughter taken from me over the past 6 months, leaving me with nothing but their memories in this house. But I fear that now I am a target for the invisible force that resides within these walls. I am trapped, unable to venture past the front door or cellar hatch to the surrounding forest. I hear voices from all around me, cursing me for my actions. I occasionally see her, my Gwen, standing in the hallway, looking straight through me, unlike she used to. I hope that I have saved her soul, but after seeing her apparition on a daily basis, I fear that all I have done is aided my tormentors. I now spend my days reading, researching, translating the library, and I feel it is my purpose in this house. May God have mercy on my soul, and may death soon relieve me of the guilt I carry.
Yep. Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah.
Door?
kitchen that's definitely is not part of the same house.
Yep.
Ooh, a severed head needs to be a fresh kill. Whoever the killer is, he will probably be back soon, and I don't want to be around for when that happens. Looks like there's a symbol smeared on the forehead. And a knife on the shelf. Jesus Christ. That's some CSGO shit.
Yep.
You should probably arm yourself with this.
Mm-hmm.
A tattered diary sits on the table.
All right. That's a lot easier to read.
Yeah, it is.
A lot easier to read. Alrighty.
May 14th, 1997. An unusually eventful day today. I stumbled across an unusual find whilst out hunting for deer in this remote wilderness. Stalking a wild steed into a clearing, you can only imagine my surprise to find a house, old and seemingly abandoned, but still standing strong. An interesting find, one that certainly has me curious. The next day, upon my investigation with the city archives earlier this morning, it appears that this house has been abandoned for almost 10 years and currently resides under control of the local government. I feel that its location must be too remote for them to be able to tear it down, but I must admit that I feel drawn back to the house, mostly out of curiosity, but I cannot deny that there is something else about that place that has me yearning to return. 3 days later, I could not put it off any longer. I called in sick to the office today and decided that I would retrace my steps into the wilderness to once again find the house, which has been foremost on my mind of late. It didn't take much to find it again, as it was almost like I was being guided back to the exact spot I found myself some 4 days ago. Once I plucked up enough courage, I pushed open the unlocked front door. Admittedly, I was very surprised at the ease at which the door opened, considering that the hinge had probably built up a good 10 years worth of rust.
Mm-hmm.
To my relative astonishment, the place was still furnished, though very dirty, and completely run down. I was, and still am, amazed at the state of this place, considering that it had been empty for so long. I decided that I would explore the house and not disturb anything within. My fear had not subsided, and as a matter of fact, it is still with me as I record this journal some hours later. My curiosity took me through the kitchen.
Runaway says, oh, hell no, an abandoned home in the woods is how you find a witch cult. I mean,
Yeah,
you're not far off.
Hey.
Hey?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
My curiosity took me to the kitchen, bedroom, and lounge room before a thumping noise from the roof on the second level startled me so much that I ran straight out the front door and back through the forest to my automobile. As it was, I almost fell off a small ledge and into the thicket below. I felt a complete fool being scared off by rats, which I assumed they were. Some days later, I had a nightmare last night. All I can remember is the blood and the frightened screams surrounding me, and the house. The house is in my nightmare too. The next day, I called in sick to work once again so that I could venture out into the wilderness and explore the abandoned house once more. Not surprisingly, I found the structure with relative ease as I did yesterday. However, I was startled when I noticed that the front door was closed. I'm certain that when I left in such a hurry the other day that I had the door been left ajar. In any case, I eventually attributed the closed door to the wind, as I was clearly the only person who had been into the old house recently. I repeatedly scoured the house for anything interesting, heading back through previously visited rooms, and once again, as I passed through the hallway outside the main bedroom on the second level, I heard heavy thumping coming from the roof. I was instantly very tempted to repeat yesterday's dash from the house, but I swallowed my fear and continued on with the exploration. In the limited time that I had before dusk, unfortunately, I did not uncover anything that would help me explain the mysterious disappearance of the most recent tenants. The next day, I sit here in the lounge room of the old house by candlelight, recording in this journal the events that have transpired today. Although I am scared to within an inch of my life, I am bound to this house, and I feel that I do not have the strength or resolve to run back to my car at such an advanced hour. As I have for the past week, I returned to this house with the intent of uncovering anything that could help me answer the question of its missing tenant. I failed to uncover anything that could help in this case, but what I did find seems far more precious and disturbing than what I could have ever hoped for. I was scouring the library for any misplaced photos or letters, and I almost tripped myself over a leather-bound book sitting in the middle of the dusty floor. I was certainly miffed as to how I missed it within my movements through this house of the past few days. Picking up the book, I felt a slight empowerment rush through me. The distant sound of wind began to sound like whispers, and the room in which I was staying seemed to darken. I wondered what knowledge the scribe had passed down the ages for me. Enchanted by this aging literature, I retreated back into the lounge room, settled down in one of the most comfortable chairs, and continued to read through the contents of the book. Written in it seemed to be a red ink of some sort, and the content didn't initially make sense to me, as the majority of it was written in a language that is foreign for me. But in the back of the book, there were abridged translations written by a Mr. Xavier Rayan from 1890. The majority of what I could understand seemed rather jumbled and nonsensical, rather disappointed. I closed the book and relieved myself of its burden. Things from this point became rather blurred and frighteningly surreal. The sound of the distant forest animals stopped, as if all life paused, waiting for my next move. The wind outside stopped pounding against the shuttered windows, and the candle winked out of existence, leaving me in almost pitch-black conditions. I listened closely, and all I could hear over my heartbeat and rasping breath was the whispering that I shrugged off before. It was coming from every direction, yet no direction at all. The whispering slowly got louder until it sounded like a dull roar. Voices of many different types called out. They cried in pain, screamed my name, and some shouted obscenities I dare not repeat. There are so many of them, so many voices. I felt multiple hands pin me down to the chair by my upper torso, but every time I filled my arms out in front of me, they connected with nothing but air. The harder I pressed against the chair, the harder it was for me to breathe, and soon I could not breathe at all. I blacked out. The last thing I remember was a flash of my nightmare from the night before, a flash of the blood, and a flash of the screams of the house. I woke up about 20 minutes ago, slumped in the same chair. It is now long after dark, and I dare not brave the sub-zero temperatures of the woodland winter to return home this evening. Tonight I will be staying here in this accursed house. I sometimes think that I can still hear the whispering, or are they just echoes of my earlier brush with madness? I can feel the urge of slumber rush towards me like a freight train. I pray that I survive the night. June 1st. Plagued by nightmares more vivid than I care to remember, I awoke screaming. It appears that I slept through the daylight hours, but it didn't matter to me. I was incensed to fight the freezing conditions outside and return home, but I was scared to move from this spot. They started whispering to me again. I want to leave, but I can't. They won't let me. I scream at them, but they just laugh and utter obscenities back at me. What have I released upon this world? 2 days later, Uleu spoke to me today. It is he who has spoken of the Exmortis. With every word he whispers in my mind, I tremble as if my soul has been shaken to its core. 4 days later, June 7th. I have been here for over a week now. Surely someone must be looking for me by now. I pray that they find me. My captors here won't let me leave. Every door, every exit, the handles turn, but the door does not move on its hinges. June 16th. I no longer fear death. I actually pray that it comes from it. June 30th. They still torment me, keeping me here, keeping me alive. They need me to I can't even write of it. July 20th. I feel my sanity has almost left me. I hallucinate so vividly, I can't tell what's real and what is not anymore. The ancient shows me images of his former glory. I don't understand why they want me, why they need me. July 26th. I'm actually surprised. I am told that they seek not to control me, but they seek to assist in aiding, they seek my assistance in aiding the inevitable. But why do I continue to resist? What they tell me makes more sense than anything I have ever known, and I still fear them and what they will do to me should I refuse. But at this moment, I can't think of a single reason why I should. August 13th. Is acceptance all that I have ever yearned for? But the greater good here is far more complicated, yet so much easier to obtain. They smile upon me now. Strangely, though, I like it. I find myself basking in the warmth of their chilling promises. August 22nd. I am comfortable, and I am learning about the true nature of the world and what is beyond it. I don't know why I continue writing in this journal. I guess that is the last semblance of my humanity that I have within me. It's ridiculous, though. I am becoming much more than human with every moment that I spend under their patient tutelage. I've been tempted to throw this journal into the fire and on many occasions. Reading over its pages only reminds me of how weak I used to be. I lost track of the day, but I'm sure that I have been here for over a year. It has been a long time since I have entered anything into this journal. I can rejoice, though. We will have company at last. I will finally be rewarded. A group approacheth to provide me with the everlasting cup of life. A day away, no more, no less, I am told. Wrath, death, blood. My day has finally arrived. The Exmortis shall make the world remember what was, and I will be integral in reinstating what will be. I can see them now, a group of campers as was promised. 3 males and 2 females. Now all I can do is wait. Wait for my time. Become their hand. Immortality beyond patience. Patience beyond the domination, the dominion. I can taste it now. Anoint me, Lord Vlayu. The time has come. Yeesh.
Yeah, dude went pretty fucking mad in here.
What the fuck?
There's no food or anything in here, so they kept him alive here for a year somehow. They just wouldn't let him die.
Creepy.
Because that's a year in here with nothing. There's nothing here.
A human cannot survive more than 4 days without food, without water. Can survive more than a little over a month without food, though.
Yeah.
Science is horrid.
But he's been here for a year. At least a year, he says.
Yeah.
Second floor.
Maybe I should try the no food challenge.
Aw.
Let's try the Exmortis challenge.
Any
door is
percent
now
speed
ajar.
run.
Cool. The blood of Gwen Rain stains the sheets. It was over 100 years ago that she was murdered. How can the blood still be wet? Gwen Rain, or just another hallucination?
Wake up.
Suppose I have some game theory on this game.
It's old. It's an old game, and it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, there's not much theorizing. It kind of answers its questions and ends itself pretty succinctly.
Fair enough.
What a ride so far, though. The door slams locked behind you, and actually it's up against the wall. You pick up a blood-stained axe. Oop. The gap's not big enough for you to squeeze through it. What the fuck does that mean?
Oh, you couldn't squeeze through it before. You had the
Call me
door's locked
fat.
behind you.
I like that the axe is just still there.
Yeah, I couldn't
Why would you
hold
drop? Yeah, no. Yeah, fuck that.
Exactly.
If I found a weapon, you best believe it's going to be glued to my hands.
Mm-hmm. God damn.
it. Yeah.
The symbol appears on the forehead. That must mean this is the 5th sacrifice. If I'm not the one of the 5 campers, then who am I? I can't be. No. Please, no.
Small hole in the wall. Key buried in the dirt.
Jeez.
Use the key to open the door.
Welcome
What's
back.
up, bro?
God.
You have served us well up until this point. Now, sir,
Sword on.
become the hand of Exmortis.
Devour the crimson life of 5. Marks of war given to thee.
Select the symbols in order to solve the puzzle. And make the run and make a run for the forest.
The hordes of Exmortis swept across the earth, a plague unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. In their final stand, a handful of mankind's last survivors stood their ground, defiant of their inevitable fate. And in those last moments, as death took these brave souls, a stranger passing in the distance puts his plans in motion. Where is your god now?
And
This
now we're in
Baron Waste.
and now we're in Exmortis too.
Goddamn.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty heavily implied that you are playing the guy that wrote that whole journal that went mad in the house.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Because
Yeah.
at first you think you might be one of the campers and that, you know, you woke up with a bump on your head because you maybe fell or were trying to escape the house, but you don't remember what you were escaping from, so you go back in the house. I don't remember what the implied story is, but like that you're the guy that went mad that has been told, "Hey, campers are here. Here are your sacrifices. Kill them and do the ritual." But when you do it again and you realize that this is what's going on and you realize who you are, you have the choice to run out into the forest. I can't remember the exact thing, but if you choose to run into the forest, you have to go through the house again, essentially retracing your steps, and you leave the house. And then you get attacked by something, and then the game starts all over. You wake up, bump on your head, it's freezing cold. Oh, look, there's a house over there.
That's crazy. I love that, though.
The implication that the implication of just you have tried, you've woken up to your senses and have tried to run away multiple times. You just keep getting bumped.
Yeah. And running into the campers, you either something takes over you, which leads to them dying, or like with the last one, you kill them in self-defense.
Because they go crazy.
Because they went crazy in the house too. I think before the last one runs to you, they said something like "freaking over here, you bastard" or something like that, which again heavily implies that you killed the other campers. Until at some point you decide to run out of the house. So the little in-betweens here and there are a little bit fuzzy. And I don't think are directly explained to you, but you are the person that wrote that long-ass journal that for some reason the house just called to you, you kept going back, and then you were trapped. Now you've done the ritual. The ritual has been complete. The first protagonist becomes the Hand of Exmortis, and the apocalypse has dawned upon Earth. So this barren wasteland stretches in most directions as far as the eye can see. Sometimes I wonder if there's anything left to fight for. Runaway, if you're still in, you definitely can join as well.
This over here is called Rendezvous Point.
Yep. This one was considered, it looks like my orphanage. Oof. The sky has been stained blood red since the Exmortis started, systematically eradicating mankind from the face of the earth. The mountain range overshadows the terrain. It once was teeming with life, but now is as barren as the rest of this planet seems to be. Now here's a really cool thing, because I don't think they're going to do it here. You can just stay on this screen and do nothing.
Yeah.
And the sky becomes darker and darker, and there's a timer. If you do nothing and you run the timer, you get a jump scare and the game starts over again.
Hey. That's funny.
Yeah. The abandoned church was to be the resistance rendezvous point after the final stand against the Exmortis.
Hey, just wait for a second.
Yeah. Someone has written, "Where is your God now?" When the Exmortis emerged, faith in our religions quickly turned into spiritual resentment. It looks like the monastery I lived in as a kid. It's a very bare bones looking monastery. And it's possible that that when creating this game, they grabbed like they wanted a very desolate, very bleak looking area to really send home of this is all they have left. This is the most rundown fucking teeny shitty little fucking cot they could find, but there's a cross on it. It's a church. It'll do. This is humanity's last bastion. This. While we wait for Anthony, I'm going to do a quick little ad run. That way we can also kill the ad timer. We've got about 1 more hour, and I'm pretty sure this is the longer one. But I think it's definitely a lot more game and a lot less reading. The first game was a lot of reading. Which is why I was surprised. I was like, that's 15 minutes. It's because we reading. So I'm gonna take a quick pee break. I'm not gonna. Actually, I'll go BRB for a quick bit. That way, like when I come back, Anthony like knows that we're on BRB. I'll be right back. Alrighty. We are back. Is Anthony back?
Here.
Alrighty, hell yeah. Okay. I just want to take a quick little pee break while you were gone. Alrighty. So yeah, when you stepped away, someone has written, "Where is your God now?" When the Exmortis emerged, faith in our religions quickly turned into spiritual resentment. And then I talked to, because Runaway was like, this looks like the monastery I lived in as a kid. And it's like, yeah, they probably pulled this from like countries or a poor community that this is all they had. But it really also gives a picture of what a desolate shit situation humanity is in. That this, out of all the grand churches and cathedrals, this is all humanity has left.
Mm-hmm.
This fucking shithole.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. The abandoned church was to be... Okay. Wait, 1 second. They, like, freaking went too quick about that. This abandoned church was to be the resistance rendezvous point after the final stand... Okay, that's new. This door leads inside. I only hope that beyond its darkness, I will find some survivors of the battle with the Exmortis. Each pew is covered in a thick layer of dust. There hasn't been a living thing in here for a very long time. Can I be the only survivor of the battle? Holy shit. There may be nothing living left in here, but I'm definitely not alone. It isn't of the Exmortis, though. I would be dead by now if it was. We got bloody footprints. A door just opened. Well, side of the booth is empty. Something or someone is clearly in the other booth. The window looks through the other booth. Whoever's in the other booth is looking back at me. What could he want?
Mr. Hannay, please sit, for my time here is limited. I take it the battle didn't go as planned. An unfortunate inevitability, I'm afraid. Nevertheless, it has aided and allowed me the passage I required to make contact with you. The Exmortis know you're here, so I must be brief. All might seem lost to you in this dark hour, however, I am here to bring you hope when you have none. I have here with me a parchment which you will do well to read carefully. The knowledge within its pages will shed light on your path towards removing the scourge and allowing mortal man to begin rebuilding. I don't doubt that you are wondering if I am trustworthy or not. However, at this point, neither you nor the remaining fragments of humanity have anything left to forfeit. I'm afraid mankind's fate rests on your next course of action. For your sake, I hope you make the right choices.
The door now seems to be working okay. If the Exmortis really do know that I am... God damn it. I'm here. I should be making a quick exit before they arrive. This is the booth that thing was in. The door seems to be working now. A vile stench hangs in the air that was trapped by this enclosed booth. If I can't see that entity, at least next time I know I can smell him coming. Pound of bound papers rests on the stool. This must be the parchment the entity explored. Prophecy of the Hand. Oh, Prophecy of the Hand. One night I dreamed. A darkness once dormant, patiently waiting, was now emerging from the shadows. A light growing brighter from beyond a dark chasm, wrapping around a pillar stained with ancient symbols. Many millions of shrieks and screams engulfed me where I stood, until I felt the burn rise up from the floor, and it too consumed me. My soul ripped from my shell. My soul ripped from my shell was flattened and became a pathway. It became a link between the ancient world and my reality. Unspeakable monstrosities crossed over and began devouring every living thing. And then, a fiend of unspeakable size and malevolence looked at me and smiled as he crossed into my world. He introduced himself as the Ancient of the Exmortis, Vleu. I could see myself, a tattered, broken man suddenly imbued with an insatiable power. I felt a sudden drive to destroy all that I knew and return it all to how it used to be before light and life. I saw myself become the Hand of Exmortis. I saw what was, what is, and what will be. I then saw a strange dagger plunge deep into me, a man holding it, a mere mortal, and something else in the shadows. But then the darkness took me as I fell to my knees and the pathway crumbled, my soul lost forever. I don't dare to dream again for fear of what other horrors await. Property of Locklear Fields Ranch. The door leads back outside to the rear of the church. An old rusted coat hanger appears to have been rigged up as the makeshift aerial for this old car. The tracks on the ground indicate that this old rust bucket of a car still works. As old as it is, it still needs a key to start. I wish I knew where to fucking find one. Seems that set of keys has fallen through between a couple of slats of this wooden... Stop it! The fucking player thing gets in the way. I wish there was a way to, like... Is there a way to make it so that the player doesn't freaking do the thing and get in the way?
If there is, I have no idea. It
Yeah.
annoys me too.
Yeah, there's a way to like full screen it, but it doesn't take away the player when it's playing. And the chapters are in the way, so I also can't see shit. So it seems that a set of keys have fallen through between a couple of slats of this wooden board patio. However, my hand is too large to fit through the gap to retrieve them. Running is not going to help. The Exmortis will be on me like a flash. I wouldn't last 30 seconds. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Think. There we go. This is the part. This is the part. So this cloud moves ever closer and it gets darker and darker and darker. And if you take too long, you lose.
Okay.
Success. I've got the keys. There's nothing left here for me now. Oh, fuck. Those fast-moving clouds can only mean one thing. They are coming for me, and it's not for a chat. I don't have much time. Xavier's Legacy. This is the Locklear Fields Ranch the document from the church led me to. What possible significance could this place have in the scheme of things? The door leads inside. I don't know what waits for me inside, or what I am even looking for. Got a feeling I won't have to wait long to find out. The picture frame fell off the wall when the door slammed shut behind me. The stairs lead up to a second level. They're not really covered in too much dust, so it seems this place may have only recently been occupied. Door to my immediate right leads to an adjacent room. Clearly there's some kind of entity in this house that doesn't agree with my presence here. Nevertheless, the door just doesn't want to budge open. Alright. The sheets on the bed are soaked with the blood of this poor woman. A huge splatter of gore seems to have hit the wall. The naked female corpse on the bed here has a massive hole in her chest. The bedside table has a small drawer. All it contains is a Bible. I'd take it with me if I was still a religious man. Small bedroom table has a small cupboard. Slightly worn and torn diary. Alrighty. January 28th. Well, I got digging around in the dusty old cellar today, and I came across a whole heap of old leather-bound books with each and every page blank. So I thought to myself that I might as well put one of them to good use. I guess I got myself a new diary. It is quite remarkable how good the condition of the books are, and considering how old they look. It continuously surprises me the amount of handy items I find in this place. I know this place has been under the care of my relatives for over 100 years, but you would think that in that time, someone would have taken the time to go through all the old crap from the previous occupants of this place. In any case, the unpacking process is almost complete. It still seems a little weird that my wife, kids, and I are now living in old Uncle Charlie's ranch. It's been years since I've last set foot in this place before he passed on. Charlie and I never really got on so well, so it was certainly a surprise to find out that he left this place to me in his will. I wonder what he meant by, only you can understand the ranch, and if you can't at first, you will learn to. Certainly seems like a last little cryptic jab at me from beyond the grave. Anna is settling in okay. I had to do a hell of a lot of talking her around to moving away from the city. She wasn't going to go without a fight. But I think she's finally happy that she broke away from her dead-end job and kind of looking forward to a simpler life out here in the sticks. The kids are always keen for change, so it didn't take much coercion to make them see this as a fresh new start. I think the thought of having horses, cows, and chickens to look after made them forget that they'll be rooming together for the first few weeks, until I can get the rooms at the end of the hall emptied out, cleaned, and converted to top-quality living quarters. Well, I've got a lot of work ahead of me in the next few months, but I feel good. This was a good choice. A welcome change. I just hope Anna relaxes in her new home. January 30th. I got a fair amount of work done today. I finally finished the fencing around the southern field, but the oddest thing happened as I was finishing up. I had a strange compulsion to look back at the house, and I could have sworn that I saw someone watching me from behind the window in the room at the end of the hall. Anna and the kids were out running some errands, so that is why I take note of this being odd. I just put it down as my eyes playing tricks on me. A full day of hard work under the hot sun can play tricks on your mind. Anna still seems a little standoffish about the move. She's not 100% convinced that we're making the right move here. I told her to give it some time, and that it will grow on her. Still, her stressful attitude is rubbing off on me. I snapped at Zoe today, which is very unlike me. She ran off to her room crying, and I went up to apologize and explain that Daddy is a bit stressed with the move. She really didn't warrant my anger, and I felt bad about it for a while. She was all smiles after our little talk. The 6-year-old's mind is an enigma to me sometimes. February 3rd. It's been a strange few days. We had an old picture of a man and a girl hanging up near the front door. I don't know who they are or what purpose Uncle Charlie had with such an old portrait in the house lobby, but I felt it was time for something a little more modern. I took down the photo and mounted the family photo we had taken this past Christmas. I threw that old portrait in the cellar with the other old junk I need to sort through and turned in for the night. I got up in the morning to walk to the kitchen and found that old portrait hanging up in the exact same spot which I had removed it from, but no sign of the family photo I had replaced it with. I did a bit of searching around the place without any luck. Guess the next word? Hey! So I asked Anna and the kids. So I asked Anna and the kids about it, and they claimed that they knew nothing about it.
Haha.
But what really angered me out was that when I went down to the cellar, I found the photo with its frame all smashed up on the floor. I immediately brought it to everyone's attention, but still no one admitted to the deed. I must admit that I flew off the handle a bit, and once again, Zoe and Daniel both ran sobbing to their rooms again. Such disregard for my authority in my house will not be tolerated. I shouted at them as their little legs bolted up the stairs. Claire just sat in the living room, glued to this damn idiot box TV. Kids. I replaced the frame for the Christmas photo and remounted it on the wall in the lobby. Once again, discarding the old portrait to the cellar, but this time I locked the damn door and strung the key around my neck for safekeeping. The damnedest thing. The next morning, I got up to find the old portrait back on the wall, and once again, the Christmas photo was back in the cellar all smashed up. How is that possible? There are no extra keys cut for that door, and there sure as hell ain't a skeleton key for this place that I know of. I don't have any remaining spare frames, so I guess the old portrait stays where it is for now. I swear, sometimes I think I'm losing my mind. 12 February. The local sheriff dropped by today, asking questions about if we'd seen anything unusual or if we had any suspicious-looking people out of character for the area. I told him we hadn't. When I asked him about what was wrong, he let slip that in a neighboring settlement, a whole bunch of people were found dead, ripped to shreds by some frenzied assailants, were his exact words. Ah, fuck. I moved my family out here to get away from that kind of shit. Valentine's Day. I found a clipping in the local paper about the murders in St. Remy. 28 people dead. That's virtually a whole town. Fucking where? And the demons from hell? What the fuck? They're either smoking some good crack over there, or the local God-fearing community has an overactive imagination. I finally got the energy and time to clear out the old desk and books from the room at the end of the hall, but I just couldn't get the door to budge open. The handle would turn, but no matter how hard I pushed at it, it just wouldn't work. I got tired of fighting a losing battle, so I put off the clean out of the room until later. I did manage to get the other room cleaned out and kitted up with Charlie's bed and furniture, so she'll be spending the night in her own room for the first time in the house tonight. Daniel and Zoe are still sharing the same bed, but hell, at 6 and 8 years old, it's not like there's not going to be enough room on the same mattress for them. And in another of her firsts in this house, Anna and I made love this morning. I think she's finally coming around to the move, though I do think that the murders in San Remi have left her shaken a little. Too close to home, I think. And the thought of men, women, children being mutilated like that chills me to the bone. People can be fucking animals sometimes. 15th of February. I woke up last night with a fright. Standing over Anna and I in our bedroom was Claire. She said that she couldn't sleep, that a man kept sitting on the end of her bed looking out of the window. I told her that she was just dreaming. Damn it, she's 11 years old and should be able to differentiate between fantasy and reality by now. I walked her back to bed, tucked her in, and sang her back to sleep. I was still half asleep at the time, but I could have sworn that the stuck door at the end of the hall was open just a crack, on the way to Claire's room. It didn't occur to me at that time to check in again. All I wanted to do was go back to bed. 18th February. More murders. Local news broadcasts mentioned that more people were mysteriously killed. Now a town further away had been hit and virtually wiped out just as San Raimi had. What is going on in this world for shit like this to happen? Out here in all places. I didn't mention anything to Anna about the new lot of murders. There's no use in making her any jitterier than she already is. Besides, now she's finally relaxed a little, and we're getting some sort of semblance of normality back into our sex lives. If anything, she's become a little more energetic and enthusiastic than she has ever been about when it comes to that. I can't read. Claire's still having problems sleeping. She keeps talking of a man sitting on her bed and looking out to the back through her window. Anna and I are taking turns at babying her back to sleep each night. Anna is sure that with time she'll get used to her room and it won't be an issue for much longer. I certainly hope she's right. I could do with an uninterrupted sleep for the first time in a while, especially with the amount of work I'm doing during the day on the ranch. I need as much sleep as I can get to save my energy for dealing with the damn horses. They seem very spooked of late, a pattern of stubbornness that I can do without. 23rd February. The sunset was amazing today. It was the most beautiful pinkish red sky that I'd ever seen. Anna and I sat on the front step and toasted it with a couple of glasses of Chardonnay. Simply stunning. 24th February. That damn door just won't move. I tried oiling it, removing the latching, chiseling the frame, and even kicking the fucking thing down. I'm getting over it very quickly. I'm this close to scaling the outside wall to break a window to climb in. Claire's taken a turn for the worst. Even though she's not complaining about her mysterious man on the bed, she's basically shut down. The most conversation that I can get out of her is an occasional grunt, and she spends most of the day sitting in front of the television when she's not at school. She always looks so tired and unwell. If this continues for much longer, I'm going to have to take her to see a doctor. 26th February. New hunter. 500 dead. This is very concerning. These murders are not slowing up. If anything, they're increasing at an exceptional rate. Police have no further information other than the assailants possibly being of some sort of satanic cult. It all sounds rather vague to me. I know it's selfish of me, but the only positive thing to come from this is that the spree of murders seems to be moving away from us here. But I know that doesn't make us safe. I cut the clipping out of the newspaper and put it in with the others that I had from the original San Raimi killings. I don't know why I have this morbid fascination with these recent events. Maybe it's because it's so close to home. Something else that I've noticed of recently is that the daytime sky isn't as blue as it used to be. Almost purple in appearance at times. The sunsets of late are amazing though, but I'm starting to miss the familiar blue hue of the daytime sky. 2nd of March. I spoke to Claire today and got a semi-coherent response from her. It's the first substantial conversation that I've had with her for quite a while. Anna noticed that her bed seemed undisturbed last night, almost as if she didn't sleep in it. Anna convinced me to buy a gun today. I'm definitely not a gun person, which seems odd considering that I'm running a virtual farm here. But for the protection of my family against these marauding killers, it seemed the only sane thing to do. I've heard numerous rumors about the killings that have been happening. People eviscerated and ripped limb from limb in their own house, out on the street, in backyards, whatever they happened to be when attacked. I even heard that the attack that left Palo Alto completely depopulated had the town literally painted in blood. I cannot even begin to imagine how this could happen. And I'm even more surprised from the apparent complete lack of a federal government response. No one can go within 10 miles of New Hunter without getting turned away by local law enforcement. There's definitely some sort of investigation happening. 5th March. I woke up very early this morning because I thought I heard a noise coming from the end of the hall. I picked up the gun and cautiously stalked from room to room, checking on everyone. Daniel and Zoe were fast asleep. Imagine my surprise when I got to Claire's room. She wasn't asleep in her bed. In fact, she was wide awake, sitting on the corner of her bed, just looking out of the window to the back field. I approached her and put my hand on her head, which was soaked with ice-cold sweat. She jumped, startled with my presence, and let out a shrill, high-pitched scream unlike anything I had ever heard before. All she could do was cowl away from me against the wall and scream as loud as a banshee. The commotion woke everyone up, and soon I had Anna sprinting to my side in a dazed and frightened state. It took about 15 minutes to snap Claire out of whatever episode she had been having and return her to her normal state. There was a startling moment when I could have sworn that I saw a reflection in the glass of her window of someone moving behind me in the shadows. There just wasn't something right about that room. We hustled Claire into Daniel and Zoe's room where she spent the rest of the morning sleeping. Anna and I both decided that we would move Claire's belongings out of that room and let her sleep with her siblings indefinitely. It would be tight and stuffy for them, but Claire seemed more than happy to hear the news of the move. 11th March. The news has just come in. Los Angeles and San Francisco are under siege from these marauding killers. I'm speechless as I write this. Everyone has been huddled around the TV downstairs for hours, watching report after report of the events, and it's being reported that there are just thousands of people dead in just a space of a few hours. Anna's been trying to call her family in LA with no success. All lines of communication to the city seem to be down. I pray to God that they're okay. Information on their well-being is scarce, so all we have to go on at the moment is what we see on TV. The broadcasts are apparently under restrictions as to the content they could show due to the graphic nature of the images and the government stepping in and blockading certain footage. But the descriptions of some of these creatures is more than frightening. They're not human, we are being told. I went down to the local mall and bought a corkboard, which I have set up in Claire's old bedroom. I've started clipping articles and pinning them up there. I still remain morbidly fascinated by these events. More frightened than fascinated, I suppose. But to know thy enemy is the first step to defeating thy enemy. Well, that's what I've been saying to Anna to justify my new hobby. 12th of March. LA is a graveyard, and San Francisco isn't much better off at the moment. Millions of lives lost. The president made a statement today, but it was all rhetoric about defending our way of life and making sure justice would be served. Just another way of saying that they're scared and clueless on the course of action as we are. The military has been engaging these creatures for most of the day. From reports I've seen, they aren't faring so well. The casualty rate is ridiculously high, but all military press conferences I've seen have been of a positive nature. Hopefully, there isn't the war propaganda machine turning. Anna received word that her brother Joe got out alive, but it doesn't look good for the rest of her family. Her parents were smack bang in the middle of LA, so even if they managed to start the exodus of the city, these creatures would have been on them in no time. This is insane. Am I dreaming? 16th March. We nuked them. I can't fucking believe it. We actually dropped a nuke on them, on our own soil over residential land on the upper Pacific coast, after only 1 day of engaging the enemy. It's too early to know if it was effective, but just the realization of how completely worst-case scenario this must be for this sort of action to be taken, well, it just boggles the mind. Anna's brother Joe is driving here. He's going to stay with us for a while. I'm going to set him up in Claire's old bedroom. Hopefully he won't suffer the same adverse effects that she bore from that strange-feeling room. But at this stage, considering what's happening, that room is the least of our worries. 17th March. Well, we've just been advised that the nuke has not stemmed the flow of violence. In fact, I think the words that were used were completely ineffectual. We're being told that these things, which have been referred to as Exmortis, have virtually wiped out most of our towns, villages, and cities along the Pacific coast, and are heading north up to Canada. No! And back east to our other coast.
Ha ha ha.
They were like, we're gonna skip the Midwest. The Midwest sucks. We're gonna go through Canada. We've been lucky in that these things started off around this area somewhere. People have been saying that Exmortis We've been lucky that when these things started off around this area somewhere, people have been saying that Exmortis numbers were, when they initially hit San Remi, were minute compared to the millions they now consist of. We were spared, but it won't be long before we see them coming back this way again. Oh Lord, please let us find a way of stopping these things before it comes to that. Joe arrived today. All he had was the clothes on his back and the car he came in. The stories he had to tell us were just dreadful. Even he only just managed to escape the maelstrom. Apparently, he got a frantic, garbled phone call from his and Anna's father telling him to get out of the city immediately with no questions asked. He did exactly that, but he never heard from his parents again. All he could say was that his father sounded more scared than he ever had heard. He could hear his mother sobbing and praying in the background all through the call. Joe must have choked out the words through tears at least a dozen times. At least they were together in the end. Anna has taken this remarkably well. She was shuffling around the cellar this morning and emerged in an old Bible. She'd never really been a big religious nut, but when I caught her sneaking it into the bedside table drawer, she told me that having it close makes her feel better. I love her so much. 18th March. Something has Joe scared more than he was when he arrived. He won't talk about it, but he's adamant that he doesn't want to sleep in Claire's old room again. I have noticed that he's sporting some pretty vicious bruises on his face, arms and ribs that weren't there yesterday. When I asked him about them, he'd either change subject, ignore the line of questioning, or just pretend he didn't hear and go off on tangents. We've relocated him to the living room as a temporary arrangement for now. 28th March. It's official. Washington has fallen, and Air Force One failed to make it off the tarmac before it was set upon. What hope is there left for us? Our military is all but wiped out. Everything we've thrown at them has failed, and now reports of China and Japan coming under siege. The mood here in the house is quite melancholy. It's almost like we've given up any hope of avoiding the apparently inevitable fate set before us. We've been told that the current rate of advancement, and if the Exmortis follow an assumed course sweeping back down the east coast and then back across west towards us here, we only have another 3 weeks. Tops. Where are these things even coming from? How did they grow to such mammoth numbers in such a short time? But the million-dollar what the fuck questions are who they are and why are they doing this? I'm afraid that we won't live long enough to find the answers. March 31st. New York has fallen, millions upon millions more dead. The front of the East Coast seems to be following the expected pattern at the moment heading south down the coast while spreading the umbrella further west every day. I try to continue collecting as many news articles as possible. Press productions are particularly hard to come by at the moment, but we still have a steady trickle of information coming in, even if nearly all avenues of delivering them are stemmed. TV is down to only a couple of local channels. Suffice to say the word programming doesn't exist anymore. It's just a constant barrage of news and images of the rampages across the world. April 14th. I still keep track of what's happening in other countries as much as possible, but as I've mentioned previously, information is getting much harder to come by as more and more countries are overrun. I've heard that we have earned some sort of reprieve here. Apparently, a major majority of the Exmortis have broken off and are headed south to swarm over the Southern American countries. As much as that takes some of the pressure off of us here, there's still a smaller surge of creatures doubling back this way, probably to finish off the smaller communities. We remain on high alert, staying within close proximity to each other at all times. Anna is the last remaining optimist among us. I would have lost my mind a few weeks ago if it wasn't for her positive influence. With every day that passes, they get closer, and I feel my sanity slipping just a little bit more. April 18th. Electricity went out today. At least we had the forethought to stock up on batteries for the few essential items like flashlights. 23rd April. Anna spent most of today clearing out a lot of the junk from the cellar to try and make it into a makeshift bomb shelter. A few creatures have been spotted dashing across the open country only 50 miles from here. So while we're now in harm's way, The Exmortis must have been spread pretty thin in our locality. Anna is of the opinion that if they aren't in such great numbers around here, we might stand a chance if we hole up in the cellar. I'm not so sure myself, but it is definitely a better option than just standing out in the open waiting to be slaughtered. Most of the local properties have purchased portable CB radios and air horns to alert neighbors of incursions. People are getting jittier by the day, it seems. 29 April. There was a false alarm today at the Jackson house. As soon as we heard the air horn, we frantically rounded up the kids and huddled into the cellar, only to hear Bob's sheepish apology radioed across on the CB. Dog. It was just a dog. I haven't laughed so hard in ages. In fact, I haven't laughed at all in ages. Poor old Bob Jackson was probably getting an earful from his wife. I'd hate to have been in his shoes today. May 12th. The Colbys are dead. They didn't even have time to get into their shelter. After a few hours of waiting anxiously in our cellar after the alarm, we broke radio silence to check on everyone's welfare. The Colbys were the only ones that didn't answer. Joe, Bob, and I geared up and drove up to the Colby house, and nothing could have prepared me for what we saw. Greg, Karen, and his kids were just torn to shreds. Karen's torso was strung up from the tree out in the back, and her legs were just a mutilated mess at the foot of the stump. We found bits of Greg scattered around his back porch, and the kids. Oh God, the kids. The suffering they would have been subjected to. I am dry retching as I write this. No one deserves to go through that. Is this what we can expect? Will my own children, my own flesh and blood, end up the same way that the Colbys did? What kind of fate is that? Seeing this level of inhumanity firsthand has affected me more than anyone will ever know. May 23rd. Since the Colbys' things have been pretty quiet, our provisions have started to get fairly scarce these last few days. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to hold out for. May 28th. As much as I hated doing it for so many reasons, Joe and I had to return to the Colby house to raid their supplies. We managed to scavenge through provisions to keep us going for another few weeks at least. But beyond that, I'm unsure of what we'll do. June 9th. It's almost been a month since the last alarm was sounded, but Joe claims to have heard some rather worrying news. This could all be hearsay, but he was told that this is purely the calm before the storm. Joe was told that further inland, a rather large horde of creatures have been slowly heading westwards. Over the past few nights, I have noticed a distant buildup of strange clouds just hanging in on the edge of the horizon. I fear that we don't have much time left. 13th of June. Nowhere to run and hide this time. The clouds on the eastern horizon have been getting larger since my last entry. The buildup of creatures around that direction must be massive. The distant sound of thunder now permanently hangs in the air. I don't think hiding in the cellar is going to work this time around. The Exmortis are in the final sweep, and I don't think they'll leave any stone unturned. No time left, no hope. I can't stop thinking about the Colby family, their faces twisted in painful screams as they were ripped to shreds. To make matters worse, our food supplies have just run out. Joe has offered to make a mad overnight dash to the old town center to raid some of the shops. I told him it was pointless. At the rate those clouds were approaching, they'll be in on us before he can get back in time. Food means nothing if you're not alive to enjoy it. But he went anyway. Joe, you fool, you'll never get back in time. Damn. Damn.
Yeah.
Not like you have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. That's all days before the fucking ugh.
Yep. Which means that those fucking things.
Children, no matter how many times I bear witness to such inhumanities, I just can't get used to it. The Exmortis must have swept through here recently.
Yeah.
The old mattress looks like it's been in this room for years. It currently serves as a pointless cushion for the poor souls in front of me. The Zippo lighter rests on the floor in front of the bed. The
God.
door on the far end of the corner. The blood of the little girl stains the wall and floor here. She didn't even see it coming. Can still feel her melancholy presence in this room.
That's the corkboard room.
Mm-hmm. Corkboard hanging on the wall here. It's covered in newspaper clippings of from the events. Probably right up to the press stop running at least. A newspaper clip titled United Nations to Forge Consolidated Effort, No Hope. Bloodbath, State of Anarchy, Washington in Flames, Infantry mobilized, martial law declared, major cities under siege, America at war, nukes failed to stop Exmortis, Japan and China demolished, millions more dead. Keys hanging from the pin on the corkboard. Someone has scrawled no hope in what looks like blood. Yeah. Mass murder. Ghastly accounts of the murders of 28 people in San Remi. Eric Barber, 23, was a witness to one of the more numerous eviscerations. It was a demon from hell that just jumped out of the shadows and tore in that poor man. He was gutted like a fish. I hardly made it out alive. San Remi was a township of just 30 people. However, last night's events, it will surely become a ghost town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was... And these are all the 500 killed in township of New Hunter Burns. These are hard to read. Rural communities from New Hunter are in shock today as it revealed that estimated 500 people were gruesomely killed by marauding assailants. Local law enforcement authorities are adamant that the recent state of murders is not on the increase and that the investigation into similar killings in surrounding towns is making viable ground on a daily basis. People have issued a statement claiming that all evidence points to a satanic cult. Eyewitness accounts have led police to further claim the men disguised in extremely lifelike Halloween costumes have been perpetuating these insidious murders. From all further accounts, these murders appear to not be gender or race specific, and there is no clear pattern or common method of execution. At this point, local authorities are being tight-lipped about the specific details of these murders. The families of the victims will be notified upon the seemingly mammoth job of identifying the bodies, which were left strewn about the streets and houses of New Hunter. Residents surrounding townships are asked to stay indoors after dark and are urged to not panic. Major cities under siege. Cities with loss of LA and San Fran fell victim overnight to a recent human massacre phenomenon that have swept across rural towns in the past fortnight. There's an estimated body count of close to 300,000 people in both major cities as of last night. Washington has yet to respond to yet another massacre, as once again citizens are left without answers as to the origin of the assailants that seem to be perpetuating this hideous murdering spree. I'm actually really impressed that I can read this. LA and San Fran police are working frantically to combat the marauding menace in an attempt to prevent further metropolitan casualties. The deployment overnight of 1,500 officers and 100 federal agents has so far failed to halt the onslaught. Police sources indicate that they have suffered almost 75% casualty rate thus far.
Yeah, it's real blurry, but you can kinda make it out.
Yeah. Exmortis Judgment Day? Exmortis. The mere mention of the name of these self-appointed executioners of humanity is enough to send a shiver down anyone's spine. There isn't a soul left amongst us that has to answer to this plague of genocide. Our police and army have crumbled and was put to death like lambs to the slaughter. Our families and loved ones have been butchered. Our lands, trees, animals wilt and die under this new red sky. We are all familiar with the images of our major cities in ruin, gutted by the horde of demons and supernatural entities, whilst other countries look in shock and horror, yet confident in their own isolation from this cruel fate. But now reports of similar extinctions in China, Russia, and many European countries. This isn't the destruction of America. This is the execution of mankind. This is Judgment Day. Vatican City devastation. 11 p.m. Sunday. The words, the Catholic the Christian communities of the world have never deemed possible were echoed over the airwaves of every remaining radio station. Vatican City was in ruins. The Pope and his clergy were all dead. Last bastion of hope and religious faith that mankind had held up until the point drifted away with the clouds of the storm of the Exmortis rode in on. In the days leading up to the devastation, the familiar images of the sky turning red as a precursor of the scourge's arrival became obvious. Rome and the Vatican prepared themselves as best as they could. Millions of Rome's officials flocked to the Vatican gates in the hope that the holiest landmark on earth would be the safest place from what they believed were the minions of Satan. At about 9 p.m. on Sunday, the clouds fell upon Rome, and it only took an hour before many millions of people were left slaughtered or trampled in the ensuing chaos. Even so, soon after news of the Vatican falling, reports worldwide of mass suicides in the remaining untouched areas of Europe, Australia, and Africa began flooding in. Mass denunciation of religions have begun. A world once so dominated by people of unwavering faith in their deities now virtually stripped of any religion. Churches and other places of worship have been attacked. They're burned to the ground in London, Paris, Sydney, and Hong Kong. People caught praying are set upon by angry mobs, intent on displaying their anger at being cheated for so long. The world has surely become a darker place as revelation that we are. So then people start, at some point, the monsters weren't just killing people. People were killing people. Assailants named.
Of course.
Police sources overnight have revealed the identity of the group responsible for the mass murders across the central, western, and coastal cities. Over the past month, the group identified as the Exmortis have been laying waste to every settlement, town, and city in the path. Scenes of unimaginable violence and carnage have dominated television sets across the world. Early reports of this thread as being a satanic cult have been dismissed after more recent graphic images were leaked in the information-controlled archives of the federal government. The many thousands of assailants depicted in the new footage have led analysis to believe that the Exmortis is not of human origin. Inhuman speed, strength, and ferocity have led us to believe that these are creatures of unknown species and origin, not human nor or any animal that we know of. Oh my god, inhuman. Government. For some reason, I was like, government Pokemon. Government spokesperson Michael Bludley has confirmed the rumor of speculation of the nature of Exmortis. We have evidence to support that the recent notions that the horde we refer to as the Exmortis are indeed not of human origin. The limited scientific analysis we were able to perform on a captured sapient. Yes, we have determined that the creature is in fact not of any species that we are all familiar with. Further analysis is currently being undertaken. However, thus far we have made some startling observations of their behavior patterns and capabilities. The creatures tend to work together, almost as if they are one mind, so perfectly programmed to know the movements and intentions of each other that it is quite unnerving. We've also observed the remarkable strength, agility, and speed of these creatures. Nothing comes even close to possessing the attributes to the degree that these creatures exhibit. Further, to their physical abilities, we have also noted numerous supernatural aspects, including telekinesis and mental projection. Bloodbath. UN war offensive backfires. The UN Consolidated World Army offensive against the main front of the Exmortis was declared a failure in the early hours of the morning. Exmortis pushed into the Western Europe and halted for all of the 6 hours as UN forces launched the first of their planned take the battle to them assaults in the attempt to push the marauding demons back into Asia. It is estimated that the staggering 40% of the World Army was lost in the initial hours of the attack. However, some advances were made in pushing the front back over the Italian border. The UN's controversial decision to use their armament of nuclear-tipped ICBMs appeared to pay off at 3:30 a.m. when numerous mushroom clouds were spotted on the horizon over the Swiss Alps. French and Russian biodivisions were immediately deployed to continue the pushback. However, the first sign of failure came in at 5:45 a.m. when contrast with ARD indicated 100% casualties of the biodivisions. It took an hour before the front returned to an earlier eastern French line and the final order for retreat was given. A staggering overall loss of an estimated 89% of the World Army forces is expected to be announced to the media once the United Nations Council assembles for an emergency debriefing later today. It was the bloodiest battle in the history of mankind. It can also be considered to be the fastest and worst loss ever endured.
Yeesh.
Red sky, approaching storm. Scientists claim that they are unsure as to why our sky has started turning red. It's no coincidence that the staining of the sky commenced with the emergence of the Exmortis threat. But the scientific community cannot explain the strange phenomenon. We're currently working on the theory that the strange cloud formations which follow the main front of the Exmortis assault is somehow linked to the reddening of our skies. The evidence that supports this theory is that the red sky phenomenon seems more concentrated around the Exmortis front and its wake. Oh, this is going to be hard. Nations to force consolidated force. Today, the new head of the UN announced that the consolidation of the remaining armies of the world in a last-ditch attempt to halt the advancing Exmortis scourge. We believe that the last chance of survival humanity has is to put aside our petty differences and work together to combat the greatest threat we as a race have ever faced. Evidence communicated to us from the remaining splinters of the scientific community in the U.S. indicates to us that the creatures of the Exmortis are not indestructible. Physical harm can be brought upon these creatures to incapacitate them. The strength of the Exmortis comes from the insurmountable and seemingly endless numbers. We remain confident that a concise and concentrated strike against the main front of the Exmortis assault will halt their advance and allow us to push them back to the Asian nations. Nuke. Nuke doesn't work. Stairs leading back to the lobby. Stairs lead to the second level. Double set of doors in the adjacent hall. The door of the corridor seems to be unlocked, but is being blocked from the other side by something. Too dark to see anything in the shaft. I better not push forward without knowing where I'm going. But you have a lighter. Jump scare.
Yeah.
Jump scare.
Hee
It.
Your soul. It is a beacon of light in a time of such darkness. Yours is a destiny I spent eternity engineering. My name is Savior. Pay reverence to my word.
Alright. Shaft sucks. Light stream from the call space through the vents. Beyond its haze lies another room, but I can't make anything out from here. Thankfully, it's large enough for me to move around this claustrophobic duct. The door on the right of the corridor leads to another room. Fuck.
Oh.
Poor guy. Fuck. That poor bastard had his eyes, arms, and heart ripped from him. Only the Exmortis are capable of this kind of cruelty. I wondered to myself, what is more ghastly? The sight of this poor soul hanging here? Or the sky stirring up in the background? From the looks of the blood splatter, it seems this poor soul was strung up before he was mutilated. One of those Sudoku puzzles sit on the table. They used to be all the rage, but I never got hooked. 300 squares and the puzzle are highlighted. Yay, Sudoku.
I like
Great.
Sudoku, actually.
Yeah, but you gotta fill out the Sudoku puzzle. So how long is this Sudoku puzzle?
Jesus.
Oh, they're on that bitch for a while.
That's like 6 minutes.
Skip.
Oh, look, we did it. Wow.
Look at that, look how much time we saved. I say this because we only have 15 minutes.
Oh, shit.
We do.
Oof.
So we can finish this game. This second game ends in another 15-ish minutes. 10 minutes.
How does it end? But how does it end? We'll never know.
All right. Looks pretty good to me. Not bad for an amateur, if I do say so myself. Glad you're confident in your Sudoku-age. Store somewhat dissimilar, but it seems to be arrangement of children's clothes. There's a toolbox here. There's a small padlock. $831 that you got from the Sudoku puzzle, very likely. Assortment of tools. Probably good for that crawl space. Alright, appears to be a service hatch for some kind of air conditioning duct. Let's keep going. Now we can open that. Alright. The body of a man slumped over the table. From here, it looks like a self-inflicted gun wound did the damage. A bloodied gun lies on the table next to this corpse. It appears to be the weapon he used to take his life. The gun is loaded with 5 bullets. Thanks!
God.
The door leads outside of the back. This probably won't be any safer. House rear. The door of the cellar is open. The darkness cell chin that spins on my son. Blah, blah, blah. Stairs. Chills up my spine. Oh my god. These books look much older than the other piles scattered around the room. Wait. Quite a few of these are authored by a familiar name. Xavier. Xavier Rayam. Alright, how long is this book? Alrighty, so I can probably make through this book. This is not a long book. It is a long book. It's a long book. My dear reader, many years have passed since I have
They're
cast
all
my...
long books.
Yeah, they're all long books. Most of the game is reading, from what it seems. From what I don't remember this much reading. Many years have passed since I cast my thoughts to the memories of my demons, for my story is one of captive torment, years of tortured labor to stay one step ahead of the constant threat of lunacy. Indeed, I pain to recall the memories endured from those years around the end of my young daughter Gwen's life, for she was lost to my blade. And it pains me deeply, however, as much as my hand was forced by them, my captors, yes, the demons that haunted my house, the possession of my poor daughter. They turned her into a puppet, held her soul for ransom in return for the translation of the text titled The Book of Exmortis. Of course, I did as they wanted. However, I fear that such work will come with dire consequences, if not for I, then certainty for mankind. When they returned her to me for a mere minute only to take her away from me again, I realized that Gwen was gone and never to return. I suppose in a way, I wasn't killing my daughter, I was killing the demons that took hold of her. I digress. My purpose for penning this text is not to alleviate the pained memories I carry with me, nor is it to gain unwarranted sympathy for my eternal plight. I ultimately utilize this medium to serve a dire warning to whatever years of humanity we as a species have left. An unspeakable evil resides in the hills, not half a day's trek from my current abode here in Locklear Fields. I have witnessed... Turn the page. Firsthand, the cruelty of the entities I have come to know as the Exmortis. I can only further elaborate on the threat these beings pose upon humanity once I have surmised the nature of the beast. To understand the history of one's enemy is to be one step closer to salvation. The following is a summation of the Book of Exmortis. The Dominion War. In the time before...
Yeah, we already read all those.
Yeah. Let's see. This is all, like, legit for real? Like, the same shit?
Summation of the Dominion War and the Kafta's murder.
Yeah, so we read all this then.
Azrael, Vlayu.
Yeah, the Manipulator of Vlayu. Yeah, so it's a summary of the first book that we read in OG Exmortis. Alright. Soul of 5 innocent soul bearers, marked with the symbols of the ancient Vlayu as a part to bridge the gap. Blah, blah, blah. The influenced man shall become the hand, his soul the pathway, and the source of the strength of the demonic horde. The Book of Exmortis, in its original Aramaic form, went on to detail the further ritualistic orientation of the link between our world and the spiritual plane, described quite frequently as the ancient land. I dare not put pen to paper again for the reproduction of the incantation of the hand for fear of my tainted soul. Following the tragedy that was my daughter Gwen, I was felt compelled to continue my work looking for an answer to this evil. I spent day after day translating more and more ancient occult texts pertaining to the dark arts which surround these entities. For years, I worked through each book of the archaic collection until I came across a precious find. Imagine my surprise when I located a text which could lead to the downfall of the Dominion of Exmortis. It was a text that I dared not translate whilst in the capacity of that isolated abode for fear of exposing to them my knowledge of this script, titled Vetus Adversarius, translated the ancient adversary. Over time, I worked to shake their attention, and when finally I broke free. I fled the wilderness and returned to civilization, eventually relocating here to a beautiful Locklear Fields homestead. It was here that I began to unravel the work I was forced to complete for the demonic Exmortis. I had managed to escape with the one text that could aid in my pursuit to right the wrong that I had been an integral part of. Within the pages of the Vetus Adversarius, I discovered a great many things. Most important of all is that the source of the demon's power was also their weakness. The man who will become the hand, his soul is the path between the spirit world and our own. Sever the hand, and the link is broken. The door was unlocked by the blood of 5, protected by fiends once dead, now alive. Circled by blood from the dark ancient rite, the mortal man makes the ultimate sacrifice. A weapon of fire takes a fifth for its own, creating a path to where the dark spirits roam. His soul will pass through the ethereal gate. Beyond it lies his God-given fate. The dagger of faith shall sever the hand, mortally pierced by the soul-bearing man. The light of the path cut off from the land, reducing the scourge to fire, ash, and sand. And it's a baller rhyme. For
Hell
many years,
yeah.
I have studied this passage for every possible angle. I have noted that the blood of 5 is once again prominent in creating the link between our physical world and the spiritual realm. But what of this mortal man's ultimate sacrifice? What of this dagger that the passage speaks of? And who is this man that the spirit references? I cannot answer these questions, but I am certain all will become clear when time is right. All I can do is make available the tools required for our savior to rid the land of this plague when it inevitably comes to be. I know now that this is my purpose and what little years of life I have remaining. Now more than ever, I believe that within our faith, we will find the answer. The circle of life, portal to the spirit realm by the act of ultimate sacrifice involving the use of the weapon of fire. All right. Howard CB radio sits at the table. I don't think you can do anything with it. But hey, javisgames.com. Oh.
Hey.
Fun. The Voices of the Damned.
Yay.
Yay. There's at least one more book. There's at least...
Okay.
These kind of radios are so in nice foundation work. I'm glad I forked out the dollars to have my old house done by professionals. Ha, not that it really matters much. A hot water tank and a gas cylinder sit at the far end of the cellar. Unfortunately, a warm shower is out of the question. Alrighty. Oh shit, the Exmortis are getting closer. I don't have much time. I better get back in the house and figure out where to go from there quickly. To the gnarly scene in the kitchen. Window leads outside to the north. The door will explain why I couldn't get to this room for the hallway from the plank. Now the plank has been removed, I should be able to go through. Second floor. Are the large wet pathway. Toilet is splattered with a small amount of blood. There's no point in opening the lid. What do I expect to find in there other than the obvious?
Okay.
Bath is stained with blood of a recent kill, but whoever's blood is this is no longer in the tub. Set of blinds hang. Water supply is still functional. The tap seems to be working just fine. The Bible. With this dagger, sever the link, and the demon horde will fall. Within your faith lies the answer. What happened?
The Bible.
The Bible, yeah. The Brobel. Strange-looking dagger was hidden inside this Bible. Within our faith, we will find the answer. It all makes sense now. Stands in the doorway at the end. I better follow him quickly. The Exmortis are almost here. Sacrifice is written in blood on the wall. What is this sacrifice I have to make? I don't have much time to figure it out. A wooden chair sits in the middle of the ceremonial circle. I guess I'm supposed to sit here. What am I supposed to do? What is the sacrifice I have to make? Dry blood stains the floor in a circular pattern. Strange symbols sit at the something path. This must be the portal. A weapon of fire. This gun has taken 4 innocent lives. Oh fuck. I have to take my own life with this gun to open the portal. That's the ultimate sacrifice. I'm the 5th innocent.
Jeez.
Dominion. The spirit realm. Appears to be some kind of beacon floating in the netherworld. These buoys seem to be linked up and powered to link together. This is amazing. Never could I imagine that such a world had existed. There is just empty space as far as the eye can see. I can't imagine spending eternity here. There's another strange beacon drifting in the distance. These buoys need to be powered up and linked together before I can move forward. Okay, so it's just a puzzle. Okay. Similar beacon floating. There's a familiar looking ring. A funny puzzle. Doorway back to the Earth realm. So this is the Exmortis are recorporealizing and making their way to the human world. Boom, boom. Boom, boom.
Bum.
Fuck me, what a trip. I don't know where I am, but I've somehow regained my physical form. The hair on my neck is standing on end. This place feels inherently evil. A box half full with bullets sits next to the corpse. It appears they are suitable for my gun. I better reload in case I run into trouble down here. Long dead corpse slumped against the wall. Empty shell casting rest in his lap. Must have been one hell of a last stand. What a way to go. Alright, the tunnel behind me. The tunnel ahead of me, actually. And this is where this is very clearly a Flash game.
Yep. These fucking weird little creatures.
I think this was in 2006 too. Definitely before 2010. And yeah, you couldn't let those things get near you or it was game over.
Yep.
This has to be the hand of Exmortis. All I have to do now is use this dagger and it'll all be over. I hope.
That was more than 5 bullets.
Well, you reloaded. You reloaded just before getting in there. There was 5. Then you shot yourself. So then there's 4. And then you reloaded before coming here. I don't know how many shots he fired though. It looked like it definitely was.
I see.
Yeah. Human remains are scattered through the tunnel on both sides. I don't know how they got here, but it must have been one hell of a slaughter. The tunnel seems to stretch on forever to the darkness. I have nothing left to fear. I finished what I came here to do, and now I venture onwards to the unknown. Another tunnel stretches off to the darkness ahead. I have no idea where I am, and no known way of telling how long the tunnel system goes for. A set of cement rock steps lead upwards to the crest. I feel a very faint breeze against my skin. I must be on the right path to getting wherever here is. Very faint trace of light creeps over the crest. I think I'm getting close out of here finally. I finally found the exit, but a familiar figure blocks the doorway. Suddenly occurs to me that this is the entity I spoke to in the church. I've got so many questions for him.
Ah, Mr. Hannay. How good it is to see you again. Congratulations are definitely in order. You have accomplished something the combined forces of humanity could not. I must admit, when we last met in the church, I was unsure if you were the right person for the job. However, it seems my faith in you wasn't misplaced after all. Your actions have paved the way for a prosperous new age. Which reminds me, I must also remember to thank Xavier for his role in this. How is he, anyway? Still moaning about losing his little whore of a daughter? You soul bearers. So complicated, yet once again I find myself surprised in the ease at which your kind can be manipulated. Much easier than my former brethren within the Exmortis. Why the look of surprise? Surely you must have had some suspicions that I, Lord Blay, was the
Blay, okay. What? We're getting a raid, but we're about to end!
My fellow Exmortis deposed me as their leader many eons ago. Wouldn't it be rather unwise to put myself in a position for the same...
Hello, Eternal Dash. How are we doing today?
Oh,
Moon Bunny. Yay, thank you again so much.
World which has always been rightfully mine. And it certainly seems that you came through for me with flying colors. So, Mr. Hannay, for your role in this, I commend you. For your part in this, I applaud you. And for your help in this, I grant you a gift. A quick death.
And that's the first 2 games of Exmortis.
You played.
Woo!
You got played. You got fucking played. You were told you did all this thinking, I'm gonna save the world. This is what saves the world. And you only made it worse. You only
Turns
made it.
out Blay was not leading the Exmortis, someone else was.
Someone else was. And in this case, it was the hand, which was the first pro tag. So he won, and it's weird because it's like, but wait a minute. The hand of Exmortis needed to be created in order to unleash the Exmortis. That's what he wants. But then you are essentially manipulated to exterminate the hand. But it seems like from that, you have given Vlay back control of the Exmortis. So, this is where we're going to stop for now. Because the whole third game, we will do at another time. We gotta go. It's time for Fate. Thank God we're not 2 over. I'm going to be sending you guys over to... Is Deco streaming right now? Has he streamed?
Yes, he's live.
All right, we're going to actually throw y'all over straight to Deco. We're going to be over there pretty much as soon as we end. Thank you so much, everyone, for spending time with me. That was another wonderful, nice little weekend. Saturday, we will come back to finish Exmortis 3. And then we will probably have some chill vibes, or depending on how my wrists are feeling, we're going to go back to Kingdom Hearts. I want to go back to playing games. So we will see you all next time.
Right.
We will have a wonderful night if you choose not to stay over at the Summoners Network, but I think you really should, because I think we're really fun and heckin' having all that stuff. Waves, oh hey, Exmortis, we're ending! We just did the first 2 games, so we're saving Exmortis 3 for Saturday, and this is new territory. I've never played Exmortis 3, so I'm actually kind of excited. This is good.
I didn't even know there was a 3. I thought that's where it ended.
No, there was a 3!
I know, I saw it when I looked at this thing, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Alrighty, guys. We will see you all next time. Bye-bye!
Goodbye.
In any case, bye.